Hey guys, it's Sid here with svtperformance.com, and I have a 2019 Need for Green Performance Pack Level 2 Mustang GT. All I can say is Ford must have been listening to me and all my other reviews on these recent cars they've been sending us, because this thing ticks all the right boxes for me. I really want to show you guys all the features this thing has, and more importantly to me, all the features that it doesn't have, because this car is pretty well stripped out other than just the performance go fast goodies. First though, I'd like to thank Lethal Performance for helping us out with this video. As you guys know, Lethal has supported SVTP for many years. And as we go through this review, I'm going to show you some of the things that I think that Lethal could actually provide to make this car even better. So let me get you guys off the tripod and let's go take a look around this 2019 Need for Green Performance Pack Level 2 Mustang GT. Okay, I have you guys off the tripod now, and let's take a look at this car. So the first thing you're obviously going to notice is the color. And like I mentioned before, it is called Need for Green, and this car is green. It's a darker green than that pale mint green that we're seeing on the GT500 photos, and it is non-metallic. And it sort of plays some weird tricks in sunlight though. So as you can see in partially sunlit portions of the hood, it looks pretty light, but as you of course get a little bit darker, it looks darker. I'm not sure how it's going to show up on the camera, but in certain conditions this thing almost looks John Deere green. Was sort of split. When I first got the car I wasn't crazy about it, but to be honest with you, the longer I've had this car, the more I've come to like this color. It's just different enough to feel special, but not so weird and outlandish that it seems odd or out of place. I think it's a really good color on the Mustang, and I really like it. I'm actually to the point where if I was going to buy a new Mustang, I would seriously consider this color. You know, I'm a old Oxford white fan, you know, work truck white from Ford. I like that color on just about anything, but this car in this color I think looks really good. And as you can see, we've also have the asymmetrical stripes on it, so you got one skinny, one fat. I know a lot of people aren't crazy about that, but I think it looks pretty good. Again, it's something different, and I think if you're going to have a car that's colored like this, it doesn't hurt to have that stripe. I probably would not order it myself because I would want to do some kind of custom vinyl graphic on it myself. But I do think it looks pretty good on this car. We get the gloss black grille on this particular package, which again, I think looks fantastic. But other than that, this car is pretty well stripped out. And that's one of the things I really like about it. I won't say complaining, but I've been pointing out that the last few vehicles that Ford has given us to test have been really loaded up. You know, we had the Edge ST, which was basically loaded. We had a limited F-150 also loaded. Actually, no, that was Platinum F-150. We had a limited F-250 loaded. Had the Bullet Mustang loaded. And then they send us this. And really the only options on this car are the Performance Pack Level 2 suspension, and it has Recaros, and of course the stripe. Now, when I say it doesn't have much else, well, I lie. It has the electronics package, which gives you the larger screen in the dash and dual zone climate control and things like that. So that's really nice setup. But we have cloth Recaro seats, and I am a fan of keeping it simple, especially in cars like this. You do not need 30 pounds of electric motors to move your ass forward and back in a seat. I think that's a complete waste and just adds weight to a car that doesn't need any more weight added to it. This just has a simple manual track, slide back and forth, get you where you need to go, perfect. You don't need anything more than that. And we have the cloth Recaros. We had the leather Recaros in our 2015 EcoBoost Mustang project car, and they're very similar to this, but I actually like these seats better. I'm not sure if Ford has changed the actual foam materials to stiffen them up a little bit between 15 and 19, but this seat feels way better than the leather ones we had in our 2015 car. And definitely with the cloth, they're way grippier and hold you better in the seat, which I think is a fantastic feature to have. Because if you have these seats, you obviously want to do some tracking or at least some spirited driving, and it's nice to have them hold you in the seat. So I would definitely go for the cloth Recaros. My only complaint with them is this cloth material attracts everything. So if you have your girl in the car and she's going to shed a little bit of hair, it's going to stick to these seats. Everything's going to stick to them. And like you can see, they just don't clean up all that well. And the material, I'm sure it's robust, but it feels a little cheap. It's funny, the cloth that they use in the Fiesta ST Recaro seats is almost like a denim material, and it is like very heavy duty feeling. This stuff feels, I would say, like a pair of Adidas shoes, that type of material. So I'm sure it's tough enough to last quite a while, but I think I would like something that's just a little bit stiffer. Moving on. When I said this car is sort of base, we have the standard gauges that we've come to see in S550. We do have manual transmission. Again, it's MT82. Just like in the Bullet, the transmission is better than it used to be. It's definitely better than the S197 cars and even the early S550s. The MT82 keeps getting better, but at the end of the day, it is still an MT82 and it still has its weaknesses. And moving on from the interior, because you know we're pretty well done in there. There's not much else to show you other than it does have the electronics package, so we can choose all of our modes. Oh, and it has active exhaust. I forgot to mention that earlier. So you have the active exhaust option, so you can choose it between quiet, track mode, sport mode, all that good stuff. It also has my favorite new feature in the S550 Mustangs, and that is Rev Matching Downshifts. I absolutely love that feature. It makes you grin every time you come to a stoplight and get to go down through the gears. I love that. Had to turn it on in this car. In the Bullet, it was on by default, but in this car, well, I won't say it was on by default. When Ford gave it to me, it was on. This car, I had to play and go through the track mode settings and actually find it. But it works great, and it just makes it more fun. But really what you want to know about this car is the Performance Pack Level 2 suspension and how that works, and is it worth it? So, we've known the Performance Pack 1 suspension for quite a while. It gets you stiffer springs, different dampers, different roll bars, anti-roll bars, and the big brakes and things like that. So this car has all that good stuff. It has the 15-inch Brembos with 6-piston calipers, which look fantastic. They're big, beefy brakes, and they work great. It also, since it's a level 2, you get the MagneRide suspension package. And the MagneRide is another thing we've mentioned in our Bullet videos. It works great. I really like that. You can set it between, you know, normal, sport, track, and have the dampers tighten up, and you can feel the difference. But here's the issue I have with it. I always drive this car around in at least Sport Plus mode, and often in track mode. So to me, would I buy the MagneRide suspension? Maybe not. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But going on down through the checklist, you get 373 rear gears, a Torsen differential, and another huge difference, and I do mean huge because this makes an enormous difference in this car's handling, are the wheel and tire package you get with the Performance Pack Level 2. With these, you are getting the Pilot Sport Cup 2 Michelins, and they are 305, 19 inches, all the way around. So it's a square setup, and these things are sticky tires. They're fantastic. Anybody who's drove a GT350 Mustang knows that these things are fantastic tires on the street, on the track, except if it's wet. We did get in a little bit of rain with this car, and we had to slow down to like 45 miles an hour on the interstate because it gets a little squirrely. You can see you only have really 2 rain channels here, and a whole lot of real estate to do some hydroplaning. So this is definitely a dry road tire, and you can see we've already got a few nicks in it because this thing, they are very soft compound. But the trade-off of wearing very quickly and not being that great in the rain, you get an insane amount of grip out of these things. This car has grip for days, and it is fantastic. I mean, every on-ramp onto the interstate is just an excuse to really stretch this thing's legs and push the suspension to, I won't say to the max, but push it a little bit, have some fun. This car is ridiculously fun around town because of that. Of course, we have the Coyote 5-liter V8. We've all come to know and love. It's a Gen 3, so you have your direct injection and all that good stuff. The one thing that sort of disappoints me just a bit, and I don't mean a lot, but just a little bit, is after driving the Bullet Mustang with its updated Gen 3 Coyote, I won't say updated, let's say upgraded Gen 3 Coyote, this car feels a lot more than just 20 horsepower weaker. I guess you could say that the Bullet just feels way more than 20 horsepower stronger, 25 horsepower, whatever the difference is. With the Bullet, you basically got a freer flowing exhaust, a GT350 intake manifold and intake tract, and a little bit different tuning. But it really added up to something special on the Bullet. The Bullet felt like it had way more low-end grunt than this car. And, you know, that's not something that I really want to live without. I like having that low-end power, especially around town. I just like having a torquier car. So that's where I'm going to go in and talk about some of the changes I would make to this car if it were mine. Oh, let me show you before we get into that. Check out the exhaust tips. We've of course got the quad exhaust tips and my manufacturer's plates on it. And, you know, your standard black GT badge. All the rear end's kind of standard. It does have a different spoiler because it's Performance Pack Level 2 than the other cars. But let's talk about some of the changes I would make to this car. I think it's fantastic right out of the box. But if I were ordering this, and it was going to be my car forever, or at least as long as I'm going to keep a new car, what would I do? I probably would not order the Performance Pack Level 2 suspension. And the reason being is, the Performance Pack 1 suspension is like a $3,500 option. This one is a $6,500 option. And like I said, the two biggest differences are, you're going to get the MagnaRide suspension and the wheel and tire package. Now, I love this wheel and tire package, and I would definitely buy that, but I can recreate that aftermarket. And I probably wouldn't choose these tires. I would probably go with like a Toyo R888. I do love the wheels though. The wheels look fantastic on this car. But the suspension, I don't really need that MagnaRide suspension because like I said, I leave this thing in either Sport Plus or track mode at all times. Never in comfort mode. So what would I do? I would probably call up the guys at Lethal Performance and order something like the FR3 Ford Performance Racing Part suspension, because it is aggressive but slightly adjustable, and really it sets the car up. I've had that on a few different cars. It sets it up exactly how I like it. It rides nice and firm and gives a good level of grip. I would probably do something like that, maybe throw in some BMR parts here and there to stiffen up some of the links in the rear, things like that. Lethal could help me out with that. As I mentioned, I don't know if I would go with these exact wheels, but I would be tempted to buy just a set of takeoff wheels. We all know how the Mustang aftermarket is, or the aftermarket or the secondary market. There's going to be a ton of guys take these wheels off these cars and sell them for dirt cheap. So I really like these wheels. I'd probably just buy a set of used ones. And like I said, put a set of Toyo R888s on it. That would pretty much take care of your suspension stuff. Now, what would I do power-wise? I would definitely look into a 2018 ported intake manifold. You've been seeing nice gains with that. Lethal sells those things. They also, we could hook up a tune from the tuning shop from them, which would make a huge difference. They're picking up a lot of power on these cars with just a tune, especially an E85 tune, which you can just put in this thing and run without any modifications and pick up quite a bit of torque on the bottom end. As far as the exhaust, this one has the active exhaust, and I like that, but I would probably just get the standard exhaust and change out the catback. If I was looking for way more, not way more power, but more power and more sound, I'd consider it like a set of American Racing long tube headers. Lethal carries those things. What I'm basically saying is I could set this car up the way I want it, with just a few parts from Lethal, and this thing would be perfect. I would definitely get the standard interior. I wouldn't get leather. It doesn't have nav. I don't need that. I would get it more base, just like this car is, because, you know, that is the essence of Mustang to me. This doesn't have the adaptive cruise control or lane departure systems or anything like that on it. It has basically what I'm looking for in a car, which is power windows, door locks, and air conditioning. And I'd like it to have Bluetooth to sync to my phone. Other than that, I don't really need a whole lot. These cars are coming with it standard now. So why would I get just the Performance Pack Level 1 suspension instead of Level 2? Well, Level 1, you still get your 373s and your Torsen diff. And those are big changes that are worth having. But the Performance Pack 2, like I said, it's $3 more for that Magna Ride suspension, which works great. And if you're not going to mess with the car, you're not going to upgrade the suspension, get the Level 2, because that suspension works fantastically. You're going to get these awesome wheels and tires. If you're not going to mess with it, that is definitely the way to go. If you're going to mess with it though, why pay for stuff that you're not going to use? So on the Magna Ride, you can't really futz with the springs and stuff that much because of all the programming that goes into those shocks from the factory. That's why I would probably just skip that. So why, the big difference would be price. You're ordering a sort of base car with cloth seats and a manual trans. You want it sort of affordable. This car, now brace yourselves. You see what it has for options. Performance Pack Level 2, the active exhaust, $2,000 for the electronics package with the dual zone climate control, all that, and your Recaro seats. What does this thing sticker for? Grand total, drum roll please, almost $48,000 sticker price. That's a little bit on the painful side. That's quite a good chunk of change for a pretty stripped out Mustang. Now that being said, this thing has ridiculous performance potential. This is what I've been saying for quite a while on SVTP. This car is 90% of a GT350. Of course, you're not getting that flat plane crank engine and a few other things, of course, but you're getting 90% of the performance from the suspension, wheels, and tires. You also get this nice bigger splitter on the Performance Pack Level 2 cars. So with that being said, this car is making it a little bit tougher to buy a GT350 in my opinion. I've never been crazy about the flat plane crank engine in the GT350. It's just not my style. I would rather have a regular Coyote engine, especially now the Gen 3s with the direct injection and higher compression, where you can do so much with these things. I mean, you're basically getting a built motor from the factory with these cars now. And with this, you have that potential as a blank canvas to add what you want and make this car really special. So, like I said, I would probably just upgrade the suspension, the wheels and tires on a Performance Pack Level 1 car. And I'm not sure I would order these Recaros. I would consider getting either the FPRP Recaros or maybe even an aftermarket seat. Again, you could get all that kind of stuff from Lethal Performance and they could hook you up with a total makeover on a car like this and have something truly special and have the upgradability in the future. Like I said, I would probably leave this thing in a for my use, because I enjoy just driving around town in a nice V8 Mustang. And I have plenty of other really fast cars. I don't need to mess with everything. But if you wanted to, that's where it can get back to that Gen 3 Coyote, almost like a build engine from the factory. These things can handle crazy boost from what we were used to just a few years ago. I mean, you guys probably remember the old 3-valve days where if you put a blower on something, it's going to make about 450 horsepower and then go pop. These things are making 800 horsepower to the wheels with almost nothing done to them. I mean, you could pick up a Whipple from Lethal, bolt it on with a few other mods, 800 to the wheels reliably all day long, every day long. It's just amazing the amount of technology that's gone into these cars. And of course, that is reflected in the price. But I think if I was to order it the way I'd want it, I could probably get this thing down to a sticker price of right around $43, $44, somewhere between $43,000 and $45,000. And of course, nobody pays sticker on a regular GT Mustang. You could get that way down by dealing with your local dealer. I'm sure you can get it at invoice, no problem at all. Occasionally there are rebates on these things, but this car is fantastic. If you guys haven't driven a Performance Pack Level 2 Mustang GT, you need to check it out. It is a very, very nice package that Ford's put together. Again, it's $6,500 for that option, but you are getting a lot for your money. And if you aren't going to mess with it, if you're going to leave the suspension the way it is from the factory, it's not a bad idea to pick that up, because you're getting something that is really, really well put together. And it does not have the 4x4 stance that we hate. It has fantastic looking wheels and tires, and it goes like crazy. So that's basically it for my review of this 2019 Mustang GT with the Performance Pack Level 2 suspension, and of course the need for green paint, which I think looks great. The more I look at it, the more I like it. If you guys want to, head over to svtperformance.com to check out our full review. We have a great article with a ton of pictures and more details about this car. And we would really appreciate it if you would support lethalperformance.com, since they helped us put this video together and sponsored it for us. Big thanks to Jared and the crew over there. And as always, the link's in the description below. Check out all that stuff and head over to svtperformance.com for all the latest news, reviews, and just general Ford knowledge. You know you want to learn more about your Ford. Head over to svtperformance.com. And one last thing, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers very, very soon. I don't want to put a date on it, but I would really like to hit 10,000 subscribers on the channel very soon. I appreciate you guys taking a look at this, and I hope you like this car as much as I do. Thanks.